Hi guys, in today's video I have Jenna with us. She's from the channel Life in Germany. I will talk a little bit more about her channel during the interview. This video is about comparing how it is to get married in Germany and how it is to get married in Denmark. I never really had somebody on the channel who actually managed to get married in Germany, so this is a very nice little comparison. We will be talking about which documents are required, how much time it will take, how much the cost is. So yes, I hope you enjoyed the video. So Jenna, could you introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure, of course. So my name is Jenna. I am a Canadian who's lived in Germany since 2014, and I'm currently living in Düsseldorf, Germany. So I guess over the last 8 years, I've really had a lot of different experiences here in Germany, both the good and the bad. And I also got married in Germany. So I think that that's what makes, a call like this really interesting, because we have two entirely different experiences on getting married in Europe, even though we were both living in Germany. So yeah, I hope my insight helps in this video.
You also have a very interesting YouTube channel. It's called Life in Germany. What kind of videos do you usually post?
I try to keep like a good balance between the topics, because of course I also find that there's a lot of German nationals who really enjoy watching videos about, foreigners living in Germany and how they perceive Germany and how they experience Germany. So I do a lot of fun and quirky ones, like, I don't know, the typical culture shocks or things that I've learned, or German phrases that I find hilarious or that I still can't say, or what have you. But then I also go into detail about some of the more important topics for internationals and foreigners, like setting up a business or getting your bank account, or I don't know, basic topics that really help them from the very first stage before they even move to Germany.
Yeah, you guys should definitely check out Jenna's channel. We put the link in the description. And can you now tell me about your experience in getting married in Germany, like which papers you needed, how long it took you?
Yeah, for sure. So I got married in Germany back in December of 2016. I actually got married with my husband on the very last day at the very last time slot in December in 2016, which was great because we could save some money in taxes, so that was always exciting. But basically the process was a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. It was also, to be honest, a little bit less charming than I thought it would be, because I'm very used to, in Canada, we actually have the officiant come to the wedding wherever it might be, whether that's at your cottage or at a hall somewhere, and you actually sign these marriage documents there at your wedding. If you choose not to have a wedding, then you can go to the courthouse and just simply sign the papers there. I don't know what that's like, but I can imagine it's also not very charming or romantic. But yeah, usually you do everything together, whereas in Germany you actually typically get married at the Standesamt, so at the courthouse you sign over the papers. Sometimes people have like a little ceremony after, but it's not always that they have the wedding, following the Standesamt right away. I know there's options nowadays where you can put them two in one, kind of, where like the officiant will come and marry you somewhere outside of the courthouse, but it also costs a lot more money. So it's a little bit different than it is in Canada, and the paperwork was a lot more for me. So it was quite a journey. It took almost 9 months to do. Of course, that also included me making some errors that I didn't realize. I think sometimes the biggest issue with German bureaucracy is that sometimes they just don't make the statement clear enough. They ask for example, your international birth certificate, and then you need a certified translation of that. So what I actually did was, I have my birth certificate and I always carry it on me when I'm traveling, and I brought that and I got that certified and translated by someone here in Düsseldorf, and then submitted these papers with all of the forms that I required. And then they said, no, this is not the right document. You actually have a long form birth certificate that you have to get from the authorities back in Canada. And so that took a lot longer. That cost a lot more money just in shipping fees alone, that it was just a lot more stressful. So all in all, I actually have a list here. I needed my passport, my temporary residency permit, that long form birth certificate, the translation of that birth certificate, proof that I was single, an application filled out and a questionnaire filled out that I had to get from the Standesamt, from the courthouse my Anmeldebestätigung, so to prove that I'm actually living where I'm living here in Germany, and then proof of income, so a income certificate proving my freelance activities. And if you didn't have money coming in at the time, then you would need somebody here in Germany vouching for you that they were going to support you here, and all of that you needed to provide within the multiple meetings that I ended up having to have in Germany, even before we could schedule our date to get married at the courthouse.
I find it so weird that you need a financial proof if you already have like a valid visa for Germany. This is very...
It's true, because you have to provide this stuff in order to get the visa in the first place. So it is a lot of duplicate content that you're just constantly spitting out, and yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, you are very brave to have gone through the process. I saw the list, I spoke to the person, they told me that I have to go to the Russian embassy and I was like, no, I'm not doing it, because I know like how things can get complicated in Germany. And so you said it took around 9 months. How did it work? Like, did you get a final approval of, okay, you can get married now in Germany, and then how long did it take you to make the marriage appointment?
Between the approval, so it was actually the paperwork that took me the longest, I think, and that's because you have to go, you have to get it confirmed, and then you have to agree on the last name, and these are in different appointments. Sometimes they can be done in the same appointment. It just kind of, it's always a case-by-case basis, and I hate this term because that's always the issue with German bureaucracy, is you say, well, why was it quicker for this person? And you might find people commenting on this video being like, well, it took me 2 months. Like, I don't know why it took you 9 months, but clearly you did something wrong. And it just depends on who your caseworker is. The lady that I got, she wasn't always in the best mood, and she was quite strict. Nevertheless, it was never as bad as the Ausländerbehörde, but it was still difficult. But between the actual finishing all of the paperwork and getting an appointment, we really lucked out, because we took like the only appointment we could. I think we ended up waiting only 1 month, but mind you, the whole process was 9 months, and it usually takes more than 1 month, but we just lucked out because they somehow had a cancellation literally on the very last day, at the very last time slot of December, and then we were just like, this is amazing, because we also got to save a lot on taxes, which is always an added bonus.
True. Okay, so it took 9 months for the approval and then 1 month to get the appointment, right? So just that I understand. Yeah, that's a lot of time. But I think if you are a German and a German, then I think usually it's a bit easier, because you will already have like a German birth certificate, and then you don't need to go through this process. But I think for interracial couples and foreigners in general, there could be like other options, like getting married in Denmark. I'm sure you have seen a lot of videos on our channel about it. We will link them down below. Jenna, could you let us know like how the ceremony was, in what type of room it was, how long was it, what did they ask you?
Yeah, for sure. It's actually relatively quick, and it's kind of like a pop in, pop out ceremony. It was actually a little less charming, as I mentioned, than I had expected, because there was actually a lineup of couples. So they lined up outside of that room, and it lasted about 10 minutes, and then you go in, depending on the situation. I mean, currently, probably during the pandemic, you're not able to have as many people in there, but I think we had about 20 people in there behind us, and then we just sat at a little table, and the officiant read everything out to us, and we just said our vows, and we signed the papers. That was pretty much it. We didn't even exchange rings. She kind of caught us off guard there, because I was already assuming that it was not going to be so romantic, and she's like, so do you want to exchange rings? And I was like, I don't have a ring. Clearly we weren't prepared, but it was very basic, straight to the point, and then you're out of there, and then as soon as you leave, another couple walks in. Of course, it could be different for smaller towns. I'm sure it is a little bit more charming in a smaller town, but in Düsseldorf, this is the situation.
And Jenna, could you let us know how much you paid in total for the wedding in Germany?
Yeah, I think I also got relatively lucky because my documents were a little bit easier. I think depending on what country you come from and depending on what language your documents are in is where the cost can really add up. Also, the states differ. So in Düsseldorf, I think I paid about 120 euros to actually get married, so all the paperwork and everything. I paid upwards to about 40 euros for my certified translation. If you need a translator at the wedding, you probably are gonna pay, I guess, 150 to 200 euros. And then, yeah, all in all, it's usually about 300 to 350 euros. I ended up saving a lot of money because I didn't have a translator, and because my long form birth certificate wasn't as long as some of them. So I only paid, I think, about, yeah, 150, 200 euros, but it really differs just depending on where you come from.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your story about getting married in Germany. And please make sure to check out Jenna's channel. And we see you guys in the next video.
Thanks so much for having me.
So this was a nice little interview with Jenna. And she explained us in detail how it is to marry in Germany. Now to get to the Danish part, I will try to do it quickly because I have talked about it many times. So let's start with the duration of the whole process. For Bharat and I, it took 2 weeks to get married. The whole process from the day we applied till we finally got married. For the papers, we only needed, at that time it was a bit different. We needed the passport, we needed the visa and the birth certificate and like a single status certificate. But right now the rules are actually a lot like more relaxed and you don't need a birth certificate anymore. Yeah, so you would basically just need passport and your visa. These are the two mandatory documents. You can provide a single status certificate if you want, it's always better, but it's not mandatory. So these are only 2 documents you need for the marriage. Then also for the duration you need to spend in Denmark, you need to come 1 day in advance to do a physical registration. That is just like a check of your identity with your passport and residency card. It takes around 5 minutes. And the next day is actually your actual wedding ceremony. In Denmark, of course, it's very charming. Denmark is very beautiful, especially Aero Island. And the room is very nice. So it takes around 10-15 minutes to get married. The people are all very nice. During the ceremony, you sign your certificate, you exchange rings, you can kiss, and then afterwards you have a toast, and you also receive your marriage certificate immediately at that time. That means when you are back in Germany, you can immediately go to the authorities and do all the process. So you just have to inform the authorities about your marriage. You don't actually have to do a registration, which is very nice, and you just do that in Bürgeramt. But in my service I offer, I also guide the couples what are the next steps in Germany for their process. Yes, so these are the differences between Denmark and Germany. In my opinion, for Bharat and I, it made more sense to go for Denmark because we went through so much struggle and they kept on wanting more and more documents. So that's why we decided to go ahead with Denmark, because I don't have so much time, you know, to wait for almost a year to get married, and you have things, you want to start your life together, you want to, you know, have like your shared taxes and all these things. There are so many benefits which you have as a married couple. So yes, everybody can decide for themselves, but I think this is a good comparison for you to decide whether you want to go ahead with Germany or you want to immediately go for Denmark and save yourself this time. Of course, I have my own wedding agency now where I do everything for you in Denmark. I do all the paperwork and I get you guys successfully married. So I have all the links down below in the description and in the pinned comment, and you can book a free consultation with me if you consider getting married in Denmark. Thanks a lot for watching, and I see you in the next one.